So long story short, it looks like I may have to end yet another friendship due to political views, not necessarily because I'm against their views, but because they're against mine. Correction, said person did not want to be friends with me if I had a different political view. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it is what it is, ball up top, I do not care. But the emphasis that I was trying to have within that conversation was, sure, I disagree with you on this, and sure, you may disagree with me on that. But as far as having an actual conversation and, talking person to person, which has been so far stretched within nowadays, it's so hard to do that. It's the fact that it's okay to have conversations like that. It's okay to have oppositions of opinions. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to opinions, because the biggest complication that we're going down right now from the left and the right, of course, there's no such thing as an in-between. You can never be somebody that's on the fence, because you have counter arguments and you see both sides. That's not a possibility. That's not how it works. It's either you're right or you're wrong. So long story short, it's two different moral compasses on both sides, which leaves both parties being highly emotional. And one thing that comes from having arguments in a debatable sense, and we've learned this inside school, literally, when you have counter arguments and you're actually trying to solve a problem. Now notice that, trying to solve a problem, not proving who's right or who's wrong, solving the actual problem with facts, coupled with opinions and other things that could be sensitive within the topics. Well, what you do is not only look at what your side is doing and how it's right in your own mind, because that leaves construed perceptions. And so what you need to do is look at both sides and saying, hey, how this makes sense, but that doesn't happen anymore. For a majority of conversations that end up happening, and how this conversation ended up going, when I don't remember how the topic came up. I think we were talking about abortion or something of the sort, voting for Kamala, somewhere within there. And I was stating how, okay, first off, and again, you have to clarify this for most people, I did not vote for Trump. And that's where there was an issue. As far as saying the whole but situation and not 100% guarantee that I'm on their side and that I'm 100% with their cause, because again, they're right and you're wrong if otherwise. That's not how productive conversations happen. That's not how you progress as a society. That's just the most idiotic way to go about it, to just say I'm right and then discern any other conversation outside of that. That's how you have a clouded mindset when you don't listen to other perspectives. Now, if you do listen to other perspectives and it still sounds a little idiotic to you, which a lot of it is, it comes down to facts. That's where facts come into play. As far as having a conversation, initially you hear opinions, different this, that, and the third, and if the opinions still don't make sense, you go to facts. My point is that we're currently inside a time where there's no in-between, and without it being an in-between, there's no sense of progression. That's just a completely competitive atmosphere in which things won't progress, and that's obviously not good. An example in a very broad spectrum of conversations and topics where I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, it doesn't matter, you're wrong, I'm right. And there's no basis on having an in-between conversation, because it's not like, oh yeah, don't listen to anything that Trump is saying. Like, everything that he says is wrong. Like, it's all wrong, even if certain policies are congruent with certain groups of people, and it relates to them in some way, some form or fashion, right? You're just wrong at the end of the day. And we were having the conversation about how growing up, not even just growing up, but kids in general, you automatically know what's right and what's wrong. You know what's evil and what's good. And that's not how it works. Everything inside that aspect is completely subjective. For you to believe that a child is growing up and, you think that instinctively, inherently, they know what right from wrong is, it's unfathomable to even think in that type of way, because it's like they're learning. They're in a section of learning inside their life, and the only way that they learn what right or wrong is, which is again still subjective, which is why we have wars, which is why one society is going to look completely different than another. It's all based on your environment. And so if we're going to say based on environment, we have different morals, different ideologies, all at the end of the day, this is bringing back to the fact that opinions and perspectives are subjective. And the only way to meet in the middle, you need to have arguments that you can also provide counter arguments, as opposed to arguing this side, arguing that side. What's the counter arguments? We need those as well, because it's very important. In the sense of abortion sense, there's the one side that's highly religious, and then there's the other side of my body, my choice. And the in between is pretty much the idea of not necessarily agreeing with my body, my choice, or religion, but in a more logical sense, face your consequences. And in a sense where it says my body, my choice, we don't necessarily talk about child support and stuff, like how whether men should or shouldn't be a part of child support. That's just completely left out of the question. It's out of the equation totally. And with that perspective, we're not talking about another issue that we can be bringing up, like deadbeat fathers and stuff, this, that, and the third. Finding somewhere that's in between from the religious aspect and the aspect of my body, my choice, because, they get to decide, but then men don't really get to decide afterwards, after fact, of what happens with their money, like their money, their choice. Sure. At the end of the day, it comes down to consequences, and there are actions for your consequences. Now, of course, that excludes extremities, and we don't really need to dive into it, but that's just an example of it. And there's so many other topics that's so highly emotional and can't be easily solved by saying I'm right, you're wrong, and whichever, coming from whichever side. It's all nonsensical, and hopefully we'll move past this at some point. We'll see how long that'll take. Another time, another place.